Welcome to A Wanderlust for Life here on YouTube. I'm Jessica and I've lived in Amsterdam since 2014, and today I thought I would talk to you about culture shock as an American living in Amsterdam. And for today I brought you out here on the canals here on this very sunny day, so I know it's very bright, I'm sorry about that. But you're gonna hear the sounds of the city and it's gonna be amazing. But I'm on this just kind of platform area here on the Prinsengracht, and it is just a stunning day and I couldn't not come out here to do this video for you. So let's just dive right in. First of all, I want to preface this with I'm not an expert. I've just lived here for almost 7 years. This is just my perception of an American living in the Netherlands, and specifically here in Amsterdam. So the first one I think is really interesting and fun. It's the Dutch 3 kisses. So basically when you greet somebody, you have the 3 kisses, one on each side and then one extra. And that was definitely a culture shock because I'm a hugger, and I guess in the US you're just used to shaking people's hands and sometimes hugging, but not so much the kiss. If that's changed since I've left, let me know. But I think it's a really fun thing that I've gotten used to. It was definitely a culture shock coming into like getting that close to somebody that quickly, but it's just all part of it. The safety factor here, like I know everybody has their own definition of safety. They have their own personal histories with maybe how they were raised or where they were from and what safety looks like to them, and also different people are going to have different experiences. But not worrying about my safety was definitely a culture shock. I'm not scared of things as much as I was in the US, and like I guess it's a good side effect of a culture shock. One of the more, I think, difficult ones as a Southern woman is the Dutch directness. And like, people tend to say that the directness and rude are the same thing, and so they're like, oh, the Dutch are rude. I just don't find that to be the case. There are people just like everywhere in the world who are rude and not just direct, or they can be direct and rude, but you're gonna have a little bit of everything no matter where you are, I think. But it definitely took a lot of getting used to for somebody who kind of tried to skirt around the issue at all times. I didn't like to directly say what I was thinking or feeling or needed, really. And so this has been very refreshing for me, but it took a long time to get used to it. It's almost like you need to grow a thicker skin, but not quite, because it's not about being hurt, it's just about understanding the intention behind what somebody is saying to you. But it was definitely a big change, and I'm still not perfect with it now. I accept it a lot more, but it's harder for me to actually do it. Tipping. If you're from the US, you know, tipping 20% is kind of the norm, or at least I think that's understood to be the norm, whether it is or not. Around here, you only really tip if like you feel like the service was really, really good and you want to show that appreciation, because they don't need tips to live on, but of course it's appreciated. And especially in Amsterdam, it is almost expected. So there's this like weird cultural tug, I think, with you're American, they probably will expect you to tip because you're American, but then you're local because you've been here a while, so you may not tip. So that's definitely a struggle, but for sure, if you enjoy a service, you should definitely tip here. And you can always ask, like if it's not on the bill, you can always say, hey, can I add this amount to the bill? Because it's less of a cash culture. So I find that when they bring it's called a pin machine, when they bring it to you, the numbers are already in it. So it's kind of harder to tip that way because you have to let them know, or you have to bring enough cash to tip in cash. So like for example, recently, because places are now opening up, I had to say like, can I please add this amount to the bill? Because you know how hard it's been for people during the pandemic, and you want to give them a little something extra, and it was good service, so it's just win-win all around. Congratulations on birthdays. So here they say congratulations or gefeliciteerd, and it's not just like congratulations instead of happy birthday. It's like they tell everybody you know congratulations. So if it's Sean's birthday, people will tell me congratulations, and it's a kind of nice thing, but it's very confusing when you first get here because you're like, what did I do? And it's so nice to kind of have this culture of like it's almost like congratulations for being a part of their lives. But like when the first birthday party I went to of a Dutch friend, the father told me congratulations, and I was like, wait, no, congratulations to you. You had her. It was just very different from anything I've ever expected. On the same lines, I haven't had this, but I'm sure some expats in the Netherlands can attest to this, the Dutch circle at birthday parties. My family has always had a living room where you have the couch, you have the siblings kind of on the floor, and then you have chairs on the other sides. And so it's always kind of a circle anyway, but apparently there is definitely, like, chairs are in a circle, and people hate it, people love it. If you live here, if you're Dutch, if you're not Dutch and you're an expat, let me know in the comments if you've had that experience and if you love it or hate it. Like I said, I haven't had that experience. When I've gone to birthday parties, they've been kind of what I would consider just traditional birthday parties without the circle. Also, just a quick message. I've gotten this question before, like, I use the term expat. That is mainly because that's what people search for on YouTube. I am an immigrant. I moved here on my own accord, not for a job, and we plan on staying indefinitely. I think the term expat tends to mean people who come for work and they know they're going to leave in a few years. I use them interchangeably, but on YouTube, expat, just because that's what people search for, and that helps my videos show up on your feed so you can get the answers that you're looking for. But I'll do a video maybe a little bit more in depth about that later. And also, if you like these videos and you want to support me and the channel, you can visit our Patreon. I'll leave the link on the screen above, but also down in the description below. And if you join our Patreon, you get an extra video every month. It's a very chatty video usually, and then a live stream every other month, and then updates. You're the first to know about everything. So definitely check that out if you're interested in supporting this channel. And if you're missing the travel content, don't worry, there is so much more of that coming up. We're just biding our time until we're off into the skies, but there's a lot of fun stuff coming up this year, so you don't want to miss those videos. Just subscribe if you aren't already. But back to the culture shock stuff. Planning pretty far ahead. So I feel like it's definitely part of the culture to plan ahead, to have things on the calendar. It's a little less spontaneous here. That is what I've experienced. If you've experienced something different, let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's just, I kind of like it because I'm a planner, but also I like to be able to be like, it's a beautiful day, you guys want to do this? And that's something you can do. But I think culturally, planning ahead is very normal, let's just say that. The tax rate, everybody loves to talk about Europe and high taxes, and yeah, our taxes I think start at like 38%. I'll leave a link in the description for more detailed information. I do not know that much about the taxes. I do know it can get pretty high pretty quickly, but I guess, you know, you kind of get used to how you're paid and how much is taken out of your account and all of that. So you just kind of adapt to how much you make, and you keep that in mind when you are being offered a job. So you know what your gross and your net is, and you keep all of that in mind. Also, when you live here, you're gonna spend less money on other things. Like, we don't have a car payment, we don't have car insurance or anything like that. So you just have to balance out what you make versus what you need. But taxes are pretty straightforward here, which is really nice. And for our taxes, you know, we get a clean city, we get subsidized healthcare, we get bike paths that, at least mostly, are pretty smooth, no potholes and things like that. You know, great public transportation. Like, there's a lot of perks to that kind of a thing. And I know taxes are a very touchy subject for a lot of people, but for us, we just know that we are contributing to the local economy, and that makes us feel good. And also, we get all the benefits of it as well. Some expats come here with a 30% ruling, which means you are taxed on, I believe, 70% of your income instead of the 100%. We've never had that, but that is an incentive to get some people here to have specific jobs. Healthcare, I've talked about this before, but the culture shock to do with healthcare is a couple things. Calling the ambulance is apparently a very different situation. Like, you kind of have to prove that you need an ambulance. They're not just going to come right away. So they'll ask you a few questions, and then if it's deemed that you need an ambulance and you can't get yourself to the hospital, then they'll send an ambulance. But if it's not an emergency, they'll tell you to do something else. Going to the general practitioner is free, but you do have to register with a doctor, and typically you have to do that like in your own neighborhood, and that's because if they have to make a house call, and in some cases they do, they need to know that you are in the immediate area. Sometimes that can be difficult because when we moved to Nord, I had to find a doctor that was accepting patients, and that can be quite frustrating when you, like, what do you have to go on? You don't really have much information to go on. So again, I've talked about like the Facebook groups and videos before. If you want to see all the expat videos, I'll leave the playlist up here for you, and at the end of the video. Lots of great information if you are thinking about moving here or you're brand new, but there are Facebook groups to join as expats, and you can ask those questions like, I lived in this neighborhood, does anybody recommend a doctor? So it's, I mean, I don't think it's that different from everywhere else, but just so you know. Also, they don't, like, you need a reason to see a specialist for the most part. So you'll go to your general practitioner, and then if they think that you do need a specialist, then they will refer you. A couple things you don't need a referral for is like physical therapy or chiropractic services, and there's a couple others. But yeah, generally speaking, if you need a specialist, you need to go through your GP first, or in some cases, to get it covered by insurance, you need to go to your GP first. So, but yeah, it took a little bit of getting used to that you weren't in control of absolutely everything, but ultimately, if you fight for yourself, then you really don't have a problem. Okay, so public transportation is like huge for me. So we don't have a car, like I said, and I kind of love it. It's less to worry about, it's less to think about as far as, I mean, no car payment, no insurance payment, not paying for gas. You also don't have to worry about inspections or taxes or tune-ups or tires or parking or any of it. So I personally love it. So the public transportation is really great here in the city, but also throughout the country. There are situations where there are places that we want to go, but you would have to rent a car to get there, or at least to get to the last couple miles. I think it's worth not having a car because you can always rent a car, and they have those city car systems where you can sign up, and then if you want a car and it's nearby, like, you can just pick it up. Does that make sense to you? I think we had Car to Go in the US. We have similar stuff here. So it's not that big of a deal. Of course, cycling is a big culture shock because cycling where I used to live was very difficult, whereas here there's places for bikes all over the place, and it's not only accepted, it's encouraged, because driving in the center is a pain, and also in the center of Amsterdam, the bikes and the cars a lot of times are on the same road. But bikes pretty much have priority all the time, except on trams. But having the bike be your car is totally new, because like, you can take public transportation, but if you want to get somewhere else, like, you have to get on your bike or Uber, but that costs a lot of money. So you'll need to get a bike when you get here. Sorry. Not hearing English all the time. This is an obvious duh kind of one, but really, like, that is a huge culture shock. Like, just not hearing your native language everywhere you go. But then in reverse, when you go back to the US or even to the UK, you almost have this reverse culture shock of hearing English all the time. And then you like are listening to everything because you're not used to hearing it. And it's almost like your brain's like, oh, okay, you need to be listening to this. You need to be knowing what this is about because it's in your native language. So it's a very, very strange thing. Like, when you're here, at least I can tune it out. Like, I'm not listening to other people's conversations or anything like that, just out of default because I don't understand them. But yeah, that second that you start hearing English again, you know everything that's going on with everybody. That is going to be it for this video. If I missed anything obvious, which I probably did, let me know in the comments down below, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about being an expat in the Netherlands as well. And if you're an expat anywhere else, what kind of culture shocks do you experience? Can't wait to hear from you. If you enjoyed this kind of video, give it a like. If you like seeing me outside, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to get outside on the sunny days a little bit more. And don't remember my ND filter, because this is rough. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!